Have you seen this Priya Sharma?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So this is the second sample in OET website. Okay. Have you written it before or?
Uh, try to write it, but it was somehow disappointing for me because I didn't know much about the uh, organization of the letter beforehand. So yeah,
Okay.
I gave it a try, but unsuccessful.
Okay. So let's work on it together. Okay. So how should I find the purpose of this document? It says there's a patient in your general practice, okay, who's concerned about her sugar level control. Okay. Then we go to the end of the document here. The task says, using the information in case notes, write a letter of referral to Dr. Smith, an endocrinologist at City Hospital for further management of Mrs. Sharma's sugar levels. Okay. So this is the purpose, basically. So to understand what the purpose is, we need to answer to this. Who is writing to whom and why? And if we answer that, then we can say that is the purpose. So what are the usual scenarios? The usual scenarios are referral, and this is profession specific, discharge, or transfer. And these three types of letters are given to doctors: referral, discharge, transfer. Referral could be from GP to hospital, from hospital to hospital, from a doctor to a nurse, a community nurse to physiotherapist to nutritionist, different disciplines. But it's always, the writer is always a doctor. Okay? So who is writing to whom and why? That means the purpose. Okay? And okay, so here, who is writing to whom? Dr. GP is writing to endocrinologist. So that is the purpose. Okay. So GP to endocrinologist. And why? For, remember?
Referral management of sugar levels.
Okay. For management of sugar levels. Okay, good. That is our purpose. So we got it. Now we come down here. I mean, in this same document, page 2 gives more information about purpose. Okay. This is second page. It says purpose is quick, helps the reader get a quick and precise sense of what is asked of them. Okay. And it explains, due to time constraints, health professionals want to understand the purpose behind a written handover document, for example, a referral letter, very quickly and efficiently. This criterion therefore examines how clearly the writing communicates the purpose of the document to the reader. The purpose for writing should be introduced early in the document and then clearly expanded on later, and it is often near the end of the document. The purpose should be easily and immediately identifiable to the reader, so there is no need to search for it. For example, we have an example. A writer might, at the beginning of the letter, write, "I'm writing to you today to refer patient X who is now being discharged from hospital into your care." Okay? Later in the letter, specific instructions for the healthcare professional on continuing care should be listed. Okay, so if we use the same format, okay, I'm writing to, yeah, that's the easiest way of writing a purpose. So I say, I am writing to refer Mrs. Priya Sharma for further management of her sugar levels. Okay. Now, uh, so I'm referring, and for what? And so it needs to be immediately apparent, and it needs to come early in the document. Where is early in the document?
Introduction.
The first paragraph. Okay. So basically we say, dear Dr. Smith, and exactly right after that we say, I'm writing to refer Mrs. Priya Sharma for further management of her sugar levels. Now, sometimes you might say, okay, I would like to give some more information so the patient is better communicated. Now, uh, you have done this examination, this MCQE2, and you know that you're expected to, if you're going to describe a patient, you're expected to describe the patient in one sentence at first. Yes?
Yes.
Do you do the same thing in Iran for academic? You say, okay, at the beginning in the morning report, when you come and introduce a patient, the first thing you'd say is the patient is a 60-year-old lady who has presented with abdominal pain, for example. Okay, so basically you say the chief complaint or the presentation and the whole in one sentence, basically. Okay. Now, what we can do here is do the same thing. We just give a general impression of what this patient is, okay? And in order to find out why this lady is here, we refer to the last entry. Why the last entry? Because this last entry is the one that triggers referral, okay? Agree?
Yes.
Okay. So you can see pathology reviewed, fasting sugar usually 16 plus, which means high range, and other blood sugars 7 to 8. And this is why refer to a specialist at diabetes unit for further management of sugar levels. So this is when we decided. So this is the reason, which is high fasting sugar and other sugars are normal. Okay. Let's go up and see when. Yes.
Question. And this actually could be the day of our exam, for example, 10 of March of 2019, the last time, which the patient is seen is equal to the day of our exam?
No, it has nothing to do with that. It could be anything. Yes, and it could be any date, but you need to write this on the top of your letter, because or if it tells you what date it is up here, you need to write the same thing. But basically, today we have decided, and usually we refer the patient on the same day. So on this date, I decided to refer to a specialist clinic. So this is the date of my letter. Okay.
Yes.
So regardless of what day is your exam, this is your date. Okay. Right. Okay. So basically, on this date, you decided that the patient needs to be referred, right? So okay. Um, so could we give more information about Mrs. Sharma? For example, if you say Mrs. Priya Sharma has attended with uncontrolled diabetes mellitus type 2. Okay. Could I say that? Or say Mrs. Sharma is 60 years old. Okay, so any relevant information, if you think it could help in this one sentence, we can add it here. We can say Mrs. Priya Sharma, who has attended. Okay, so if I say who has attended, okay, or even I can say I put another comma here, yeah. Or I can say a 60-year-old lady, if you think it is appropriate. Okay, a 60-year-old lady who has attended with uncontrolled diabetes type 2 for further management of her sugar levels. Okay, so basically what we have said here is a very general idea of a 60-year-old patient is a lady uncontrolled diabetes, and I'm referring for sugar levels. Okay?
Yes.
So that is basically the easiest way or the most efficient way. Now, some people write, thank you for seeing Mrs. Priya Sharma. How about that? Thank you for seeing Mrs. Priya Sharma. Is that a good sentence?
Could be not as good as the first one.
Okay. So do we know why? Thank you for seeing Mrs. Priya Sharma.
No, the
So
purpose.
we
Yeah.
lose 2 marks here. Okay. So this means that you get -2. You lose 2 marks. Okay. So unless you say, thank you for seeing Ms. Sharma, who is being referred to you, okay, or whom I am referring for management of, for further management of sugar levels, okay. So basically, yeah, we need the word refer, okay. If you say that, you get 2 marks, okay. Don't put yourself into too much trouble to say, yeah, I don't want to write a cliche sentence or something like that. Well, it doesn't matter. That's fine. This is how we speak. This is how we write. This is medical English. Okay. So yeah, we don't like templates, but that is how we speak in medicine. Okay.
Excuse me, one question.
Yes.
Is here like IELTS that we need to like rephrase like
No.
how we
No.
can use the same word.
The most appropriate word. Basically, accuracy is more important. If I show you, I just refer you to this marking criteria, and which is, I mean, the last part is language, okay? And uh, does the letter have suitable and accurate vocabulary, grammar, spelling, punctuation? Language use needs to be accurate, used properly, appropriately, and not interfere with reading comprehension or speak. Appropriacy is more important than the range of linguistic features. Okay, so we don't want you to show that you're using different structures. If it's not appropriate, you shouldn't do that. You need to use appropriate language, not a range. Okay, we're not looking for the range. Okay. Um, yeah, if your language is good, that's fine. These are the changes, basically the important changes. There is a strong focus on creating a letter which is relevant to the reader within that particular context. So, context, okay? Reader and context. These are the two keys. And there's lower focus on grammar than other writing tests. You need to be flexible rather than plan one exact way to write every OET letter, which is not possible. Using templates for writing is strongly discouraged, okay? And it means nearly forbidden. So basically, the answer to your question is you can write what is the best word, okay? So if you say, for example, in the case note, it says the patient is jaundiced. If you write the patient has yellow skin, if you're writing to a specialist, this is totally inappropriate because a doctor knows what jaundice is. So the most accurate way and the most efficient way is just to say jaundice. But if you're writing to a lay person who's not medical, well, obviously you cannot say jaundice. But we don't have this kind of letter nowadays. I mean, we're not supposed to write to a patient or to somebody who's not medical, to social services or to a carer or things like that. But if that happens, obviously we shouldn't yet write medical jargon. Okay. Now, some people ask me, should we say just DM type 2? You can. Sometimes it is risky because you need to be sure that this is what Rebecca Bush says. Do you know Rebecca Bush?
No, I don't.
She's the educational agent for the OET. She has a lot of videos in the internet, and she does a lot of webinars. And if you have a problem, you can ask her. Basically, she says you're allowed to use globally accepted abbreviations. Okay. What does that mean? BP is blood pressure in everywhere in the world. Okay. So you can use it. You can say BP. PR is pulse rate, acceptable everywhere. So it's a universally accepted abbreviation. So you're allowed to use it. Okay. LMP, last menstrual period, it is acceptable. You can use it. If you're writing to a doctor, but if you're writing to a nutritionist, you cannot say LMP. You have to write last menstrual cycle. Okay. Now, I said AF, atrial fibrillation. She said no, because in America they call it AFib. In England and Australia they call it AF. So it is not acceptable. Okay. But how about DM type 2? You're writing to an endocrinologist, DM type 2.
You can use it.
Yeah. I think that would be understandable for an endocrinologist. And then basically we are saying DM type 2.
Dermatomyositis, for example.
Sorry?
Dermatomyositis.
Type 2 and sugar levels.
No type 2.
Yeah. Okay. Some people say, okay, should we write NIDDM? NIDDM. Okay. Well, up to you. But if you're not sure, what you can do is this: diabetes mellitus, put DM in brackets, and from this place, after this place, you can use DM. Okay, just like in academic writing, you're familiar. Okay, so if you're not sure, just write the DM and then use DM after that. Okay, right. So that is the first part, which is purpose. Okay. Now, are we finished with the purpose? No, we're not. Why? Because we had another part, sufficiently expanded. So there's another mark for sufficiently expanded. What does that mean? It means that we need to explain more about further management and of sugar levels. We need to explain more for uncontrolled diabetes. Okay, so and usually this happens in the last part of the letter, which means it's like this is an introduction, and in your conclusion part, in your last part, you say, for example, with regards to um, Mrs. Sharma's um, uncontrolled, okay, DM or sugar levels, and you explain. You need to further explain what you mean by this, and then you say, I would appreciate if you could see her. Okay. That is the last part of the letter. And this is where we need to expand. We need to explain further why we are actually writing this letter. So basically, immediately apparent in the first paragraph, and exactly saying, referring, and why. And sufficiently expanded on later, and then that would be in the last part of the letter. Okay. So in other words, we have a few paragraphs, and then we have this. Okay. Yours sincerely. Okay. And here we have Dear Dr. Smith. Okay. Okay. So basically, this is 3 marks for purpose. So we've got 50 marks here. Okay. If we follow these two, right? Any questions?